Hello, fellas and ladies. It's time to review Blitz, the newest film from Steve McQueen, an excellent director who's made films such as 12 Years a Slave, Widows, as well as the anthology series Small Axe. And this film takes place in London during a series of bombings during World War II, and it follows a boy who's just roaming through, and his mother, who he's currently away from. Yeah. This movie, ooh, I didn't like it. I really didn't like this one at all. I'll talk about what I liked first. I thought it was, solidly well made. I didn't really see any, missteps in McQueen's filmmaking, at least in terms of, these set pieces. I didn't really see much, in terms of, how he, framed his actors and, the scenery. I didn't really see too much to comment on. I actually was into the production design of the movie, even though I don't think it's, that grand. I do think it helped contextualize a lot of, London at this time. Stuff like homes being just absolute, piles of rubble. Some interiors that look pretty, very well placed in history, but also grand. I also didn't mind Saoirse Ronan. I didn't think she did anything that exceptional, except for the fact that she does have a really beautiful singing voice. Did not know that. But spoiler alert, this character didn't really have much to work with, and yet Saoirse did make it her own. I didn't think she was anything amazing, but she was very inoffensive. Pretty forgettable overall, but, she did good. I can't really diss her. That said, this movie is just, man, it's really heartbreaking to say this, because Steve McQueen's such a special director, but, it really feels like he... I'm not saying this is what he did, but it really does feel like he threw away everything that made him special just because he wants another Oscar. The writing of this movie is, really bad. Really bad. I get that McQueen kind of wants to make almost like a museum piece, where it's kind of like us, where we're in this mind of this little kid just constantly running through the ruins of, these attacks. But in the process, we just get, not much there. Honestly, my biggest issue is that Elliot Heffernan kind of got to do nothing. I didn't think he was very good, which sucks to say about Little Boy, but it's all he really did was look at his face. Honestly, I can't remember that many line readings that this guy had. He's constantly being spoken to as opposed to, actually getting an emotional journey. We get nothing from this mother and son bond. They're barely in scenes together. The whole, I gotta find my boy, plot line is kind of barely in the movie. Saoirse only really realizes that he's missing an hour in, and then even then it's 10 minutes later we're kind of done with that storyline. Not even because they found each other. It's just we're just done with it. We're more interested in going from vignette to vignette, and some of them can be a little interesting. It's just not that well established. A lot of stuff happens without any emotional purpose or anything really feeling earned. There's a moment at a train station. I was in the theater by myself, so when something happens at this train station that made me scream laugh, and it was definitely meant to be sad, but instead I was just what? No! And there was no real purpose to it. They kind of bring it back later, but it's kind of lame. A lot of the side characters feel like nothing. I feel like Harris Dickinson didn't get any direction, because he was just a fucking nothingness. With a lot of these characters, these are kind of empty vessel characters with no real reason to do what they do. I really question the motivations of all of these characters. Saoirse Ronan, I guess in the beginning wants to be a singer, and then she wants to do something with the union, and then I don't know, then she has to find her boy. I see what, I think McQueen wanted to do with this whole idea of unity. How this city had to come together in this, in an obviously dark time, but it's also I don't know, it felt pretty empty. This movie goes for a lot of terror in these set pieces. They feel really flat. Cinematography just looks really bleh. There's nothing special with the cinematography, which sucks, again, to say, because the cinematography in McQueen's stuff is typically amazing. The structure of this movie is just kind of point to point of nothingness. There's one plot line with Stephen Graham that is so cartoonish and so baffling that leads to some really baffling decisions that go, oh god, what is McQueen even trying to do anymore? I get there's a unity message, I get there's some racial politics going on in there. It comes off as nothing, even if unintentionally. That's kind of the biggest issue I have with this movie. I just feel like it's just a series of tired cliches that don't result in anything meaningful. Even the stuff that are inoffensive just comes forgettable with time. Because we get so little of this bond between Saoirse Ronan and Elliot Heffernan, we have no real reason to root for them, and because we don't really know what Elliot Heffernan's character is up to, or why he's doing what he's doing, we don't really have much reason to root for him, other than we don't want to see a child die. I would also say that, I've already mentioned that cinematography does not look very good. I'd also say Hans Zimmer's score is not great. I think the sound work is very obnoxious, and although it's possible that my theater, thing was just way too loud. It really is, shitty for me to, talk about a Steve McQueen movie so poorly, but, I feel like he just kind of wanted to do Oscar bait. And he's done stuff for broad audiences before. I don't know why this time he had to go such a bland route. But when all was said and done, I just kind of walked away, just kind of what? Why? The ending, I felt nothing. I truly felt nothing with the end. It was supposed to be the grand finale, and yet it was just this whole big bag of nothing. There is some stuff that, McQueen could have done with this, heartfelt thing, but because he wanted to focus so much on the mother and son, but not, work on their characters. It just lessened its effect because we don't know who these people are or what their relationship means to each other. And while it can be interesting to see what, London looked like at this time, nothing is given the correct amount of depth for us to, really grab onto it. Overall, I felt truly nothing with Blitz. It's really heartbreaking to say about Steve McQueen, but the patience and power of his previous efforts are taking a massive backseat to tired war cliches and characters that feel like empty vessels. It just feels like gutless Oscar bait across the board. I was really not into this movie, and I'm giving it 3 searches out of 10. Despite my dislike of this movie, I guess we have to talk about Oscars. It was bound to happen. There was always going to be something that made me mad this season. I guess this is it. I can definitely see people not going for it. I can see enough people going that was fucking mid as hell, or I didn't like it. And not enough people are going to say that's their favorite movie of the year. But, it's similarly like I said with Saturday Night. For a movie like this, reviews are good enough. I think it's pretty set in stone that director and screenplay are out. Mrs. Picture, it's getting nothing, I feel like. Except for maybe sound, because it's war. Everything else, I think, would just take a backseat if it missed Picture. But if it got Picture, I think we can analyze it a little bit. I think Saoirse Ronan could come along with it. I don't think it's a guarantee, though. She does enough. I think it would get costumes. I think it would get production design pretty easily. Score? now that Dune's out, I didn't like the score, but perhaps I can go for it. Visual effects, I actually don't think it would happen even with the moving picture. I actually didn't really like the visual effects. There were some moments I was like, ugh. That's about it, I feel like, for a movie that's oh yeah, there's an original song in it. No, very forgettable. For a movie like this, it's very, its haul is not as big as you'd think. It's a movie looking down the barrel of 5 or 6 nominations if it's in Picture. Which I guess is good enough, but not ideal. I don't know, I think the fact that it's probably going to get Globe is probably a good sign, but who knows. I'll keep my fingers crossed that I don't have to deal with it. And that will be it. Let's grab a share. I'm gonna go find my son, see where he is. I don't have a son, but I'll find him.